Hi guys, welcome back to TOEFL with Juva. I scored 30 in TOEFL Writing and today I show you how you can write an essay for the integrated task in TOEFL Writing. I show you my solution for the second integrated task that you can find in the ETS practice test. By the way, if you want to get more tips for the TOEFL and download templates, subscribe to this channel so that you don't miss the next video. Let's get started. Before we start writing the integrated essay, we first have to take notes. So what we are first going to do is we draw a table. Now, why are we taking notes using a table? In the integrated task in TOEFL Writing, you talk about the arguments of an author and a lecturer, and you have to make sure that your essay is well structured, and a table helps you structuring your essay correctly. We are now taking notes regarding the most important points, and this is the topic of the article and the lecture, and the arguments of the author and the lecturer. In the integrated task in TOEFL Writing, you first read the article and after that you listen to the lecture. So that's why we are now first going to take notes on the article. First, you have to ask yourself, what is the article about? If you have a look at the article in the ETS practice test, you see that the article is about the voting system in the US. And the author has a specific opinion. He thinks that the traditional voting system should be replaced by a computerized voting system. As you can see, I just wrote down CVS. This is my abbreviation for computerized voting system. In the integrated task in TOEFL Writing, you don't have much time, so I can highly recommend abbreviating words whenever this is possible. I also wrote down a plus because this shows me later when I'm writing the essay, okay, the author is in favor of a computerized voting system. Let's go on with the first argument of the author. If you have a look at the article, you can see that the author states that in traditional voting, mistakes often occur because people choose the wrong candidate by accident, and that he thinks that computerized voting machines are easier to use and people can even increase the size of the names of the candidates, and this facilitates reading them. As you can see guys, when taking these notes, I try to rephrase things whenever this is possible, and you should really do that because in the integrated task in TOEFL Writing, you get points if you use your own words. And if you already use your own words when taking notes, this will make it a lot easier for you using your own words later when writing the essay. So when you're taking notes, always try to use different words whenever this is possible. The second argument of the author is that in traditional voting, votes have to be counted by humans. This means that mistakes are nearly unavoidable, and this can lead to a lengthy and costly process of votes having to be recounted. He further states that computerized voting machines count votes automatically and thus they eliminate the human error that we have in the traditional voting system. Let's have a look at the last argument of the author. The author states that the argument that computerized voting machines are fraught with risk does not hold water because people put faith in computers on a daily basis. For example, when communicating critical information or when doing bank transfers. Now we are going on with the arguments of the lecturer. First, let's have a look at the opinion of the lecturer. Of course, the lecture is about the same topic. It's about the voting system in the US, and the lecturer thinks that a computerized voting system is not a good idea. So I will just write down a minus here to indicate that. Let's have a look at the lecturer's first argument. His first argument is that people who are not familiar with computers will have difficulties handling these machines. They may enter the wrong vote, or they may even be deterred from voting at all because they're scared of this technology. The lecturer's second argument is that computers are made by humans, and because of that, they are prone to errors. And he further states that if there is an error in a computerized voting machine, the situation is much worse because a lot of votes may be miscounted or they may even be deleted. Let's go on with the last argument of the lecturer. The lecturer states that technologies that are used for bank transfers or for communicating information have been improved continuously. And this was only possible because they have been used frequently. And he states that voting is a raw event, and this does not suffice to place full trust in computerized voting machines. Now we are going to write our essay. In this essay, I will use the template that I created for the integrated task in TOEFL Writing. If you need a template for the integrated task, have a look at my video about that. In this video, I explain this template in detail and I show you how you can apply it in the integrated task. Let's start with the introduction. In the introduction, you have to tell the reader what the article and the lecture are about. And you also have to tell the reader what the opinion of the author and the lecturer is. And that's exactly what we are going to do now. I'm going to write the article and the lecture. Both deal with the voting system in the US. Whilst the author of the reading thinks that the traditional voting system should be substituted for a computerized voting system for 3 specific reasons, the lecturer opposes the author's claims. In his opinion, a computerized voting system is not a solution to current problems. In the following, we are going to write 3 paragraphs. And each of these paragraphs contains an argument of the author and the relevant counterargument of the lecturer. And it's very important, guys, that you leave a blank line after each of these paragraphs because this indicates a structure to the reader. When we write our body paragraphs, we will always start with the argument of the author and then we will talk about the counter-argument of the lecturer. Let's start with the first argument of the author. Now you have to have a look at the second row of your table because this is where you can find the information about the first argument of the author. I'm going to write first, the writer claims that when votes are cast on paper, mistakes often occur due to people choosing the wrong candidate by accident. As you can see, I started my paragraph with first. First is an amazing linking word to indicate that you are talking about the first argument of the writer. And I said the writer claims that. Claim is just another word for to say or to state. And I go on, I say, furthermore, it is stated in the article that computerized voting machines are easier to use and the voter can even increase the size of the candidates' names, which facilitates reading them. As you can see, I added another idea of the writer and I introduced this idea with furthermore. Furthermore is a great linking word if you want to talk about another idea of the writer. And I went on, I said, it is stated in the article that. I didn't want to say again, the writer claims that, because I already said this in the sentence before. And I want to show ETS that I have a broad range of vocabulary, and that's why this time I used "it is stated in the article that." Guys, when writing your integrated essay, make sure that you always start your sentences differently. Use different linking words. By the way, they are also called transitions. Use different verbs such as claim or such as state, so that you show ETS that you know a lot of vocabulary and that you deserve a high score in the integrated task in TOEFL writing. Now let's talk about the counter-argument of the lecturer. I go on, I write, "In contrast, the lecturer argues that voters who are not familiar with computers will have difficulties handling these machines." As you can see, I started my sentence with "in contrast." In contrast is a great expression to indicate that you are contrasting two opinions. And I went on, I said, "The lecturer argues that." To argue is another verb that you can use if somebody claims something. Now I go on and I say, "Additionally, he maintains that it is likely that these people enter the wrong vote, or they may be deterred from voting at all because they are scared of electronic voting machines." Now we go on with the second argument of the author and the second counter-argument of the lecturer. Again, make sure that you start each sentence in a different way and that you use different words for "to say." I start this paragraph with "second" to indicate that I'm going to talk about the second argument of the writer. So I'm going to write, "Second, the author mentions that since in traditional voting the votes are counted by humans, mistakes are nearly unavoidable, which can result in a lengthy and costly process of votes having to be recounted." Now we have to add his idea that computerized voting machines are so great because they don't make such mistakes. So I'm going to write, on top of that, he adds that computerized voting systems are not subject to human error because they count the votes automatically. Now let's go on with the counter-argument of the lecturer. Have a look at the table so that you know what you have to talk about regarding this counter-arguments, and we are going on. I'm going to write, "However, the lecturer calls this argument into question by saying that computers are made by humans and thus they are prone to errors." As you can see, I used a different linking word here. I used "however" and then I said the lecturer calls this argument into question, which indicates to the reader that this will be about the counter-argument of the lecturer. I'm going on. Further, he remarks that if an error is caused by an electronic voting machine, the situation is much worse, as a huge number of votes may be counted incorrectly or deleted. As you can see, I introduced a further idea of the lecturer by using the linking word "further." And then I said he remarks that. Remark is another verb that you can use instead of "to say" or "to state." Let's get to the last argument of the author. I start this last paragraph with "finally" to indicate that I'm going to talk about the last argument of the author. So I'm going to write, "Finally, the writer asserts that the argument that using electronic voting systems is fraught with risk does not hold water. In fact, people put faith in computers on a daily basis. For example, when doing bank transfers or when communicating critical information. As you can see, I again used a different verb to talk about what the writer says. I used the writer asserts, and then I used the expression fraught with risk. In the article, they use the word risky, and I replaced that with fraught with risk. Also in the article, they use the expression every day, and I said on a daily basis. So these are just a few examples to show you guys how you can paraphrase information given in the text. And this is really important because by paraphrasing information, you show that you are able to write an essay in your own words in English. And this is what will get you a high score in the integrated task in TOEFL Writing. Let's go on with the last counter-argument of the lecturer. I am going to write as opposed to the author. The lecturer holds that this technology had to be improved continuously, which was only possible because it was used frequently. He highlights that voting is a rare event that takes place only every 2 years on a national level and not more than twice on a local level, which does not suffice to place full trust in computerized voting systems. As you can see, I paraphrased the information given in the lecture. In the lecturer states that this technology had to be improved on, and I said it had to be improved continuously. And another example is that I didn't use the word sufficient that was used in the lecture, but instead I used suffice. I said it does not suffice to place full trust in computerized voting systems. These are just a few examples how you can paraphrase information given in the article or in the lecture. This is our integrated essay for the second integrated task that you can find in the ETS practice test. Let's quickly summarize what you need to do in the integrated task in TOEFL Writing if you want a high score. First, you must absolutely make sure that you have an appropriate structure, and you can do that by taking notes in the right way. Make sure that you use a table for taking notes. Second, make sure that you use a lot of different vocabulary. It's really important that you use a lot of linking words. These words also help you structure your essay. Also, make sure that you use a lot of different words for to say. Use words such as he mentions that, or he states that, or he argues that. And of course, it's very important that you paraphrase the information that is given in the article and in the lecture. Use your own words because this will improve your TOEFL writing score considerably. That's it. This is my solution for the second integrated task that you can find in the ETS practice test. I hope this video was helpful to you guys. If you have any questions or a video wish, tell me about that in the comments below. And if you want to get more tips for the TOEFL and download templates, hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss the next video. I'd love to see you here next time. Bye bye!